So today we're going to talk about the top qualities to look for in a romantic partner, whether it's a man or woman, and definitely want to consider this before physically sleeping with them. I guess you would always be physically sleeping with them. Anyway, before you sleep with someone, before you kiss them, before you ever consider a date with someone, you should jot down what I'm about to share with you and make note of this, especially before you give your heart to someone. Now, I wrote a little blog about this, so let me read from my notes, and then we're going to dive into these 15 qualities that you might want to look for before considering a romantic partnership. Before you ask where this relationship is going, ask whether if it's even capable of going anywhere in a healthy place. Let me repeat that. You better ask yourself if this is even capable of going anywhere in a healthy place. Attraction can be loud, chemistry can be intoxicating, but neither tells you if someone is emotionally available, accountable, or even capable of intimacy. That's why the real work isn't evaluating them. It's asking yourself if this person consistently meets the qualities required for mature love. I'm going to repeat that: consistently meets the qualities required for mature love, not on their best day, not in the beginning, but over time. When you slow down enough to reflect instead of react, you stop auditioning for love and you start choosing it. I'm going to repeat that. You stop auditioning and you start to choose it. That's how you protect your heart and honor it. So again, I'm going to give you 15 qualities. That was actually two tens. I'm going to give you 15 qualities to consider. And we're going to dive into the intricacies of each one of these qualities as a way to reflect upon whether or not this is a person you may even want to consider dating, whether you want to consider kissing this person, and certainly you want to consider sleeping with someone. By the way, you might be asking, why did I add kissing into the equation? I actually do believe kissing is a very sacred thing, and we oftentimes trivialize it, but I also do believe it's rather sacred. Did you ever see the movie Pretty Woman? You know, it's kind of interesting. Julia Roberts plays Vivian, a sex worker. Is that the correct way to say it today? A sex worker. And one of the things she says early in the movie that she won't kiss Richard Gere because that's too intimate, and yet she'll have physical intimacy using a condom, of course, which I actually kind of think to consider kissing more intimate than physical intimacy is rather interesting. But why am I pointing this out? Because I think it's really important to ask yourself these deeper questions. So as I share them with you, please take notes, rewind, watch it again so you have this in your Rolodex, if you will. Oh, I'm a boomer. I use the word Rolodex, but you have it on your notepad to consider when going forward. Again, these 15 things are, and again, I have a list right here. Okay, so I'm going to read from this list, so bear with me. But quality number one, and this is in no particular order, quality number one, emotional availability. Emotional availability. They can feel, name, and share emotions without shutting down or overwhelming the relationship. Let me repeat that. They can feel, name, and share their emotions without shutting down or overwhelming the relationship. Now, if you're familiar with love attachment style, and if you're not, I'm going to pull up a book. You may want to add this in your Rolodex, if you will. By the way, all the books I recommend are listed below. This book is called Attached by Amir Levine and Rachel Heller. All the books I recommend are listed below. Why I'm talking about this book at this very moment is that oftentimes people who are associated with avoidant attachment style, fearful avoidant, dismissive avoidant, even anxious, preoccupied. Well, those aren't avoidance. But anyway, people that struggle identifying what they're feeling and then expressing their feeling in a way that can be seen, heard, and understood by another person. That's emotional availability, that ability to express yourself to another person. Now, as I said earlier, it's very difficult for human beings, and this, you don't have to be avoidant or anxious to struggle with this, but I think most humans struggle identifying what they're feeling and then expressing in a way that can be seen, heard, and understood. That's why I want to recommend another book for everybody. By the way, this book is called Emotional Intimacy by Robert Masters. I highly recommend reading this book. Write it down. By the way, it's listed below, all the books I recommend. I'm going to tell you something. A lot of you women point the finger at men at being emotionally unavailable, but you're no better at this in many ways. Just because you have a propensity to, just vomit out your feelings, and I'm saying it in such a way, it might feel that way to a man, but if you're not articulating in a way that can be seen, heard, and understood, just because you're expressing of all these feelings doesn't mean it's landing on the person. This is why I'm so encouraging of to actually sit with your emotions, write them down, start to journal, because it's going to help better prepare you. But if you're with someone who struggles with vulnerability, if they struggle with authenticity, if they struggle with transparency, you might ask yourself, is this person capable of a genuinely healthy, long-term committed relationship if they are not able to express their feelings? Okay, so that's number one. Number two, emotional regulation. Regulation. Again, I'm reading from my notes. They can self-soothe and take responsibility for their nervous system instead of making it your job. Sadly, we're in an environment where oftentimes we play this victim consciousness in romantic relationships. You made me feel this way. And not to suggest someone's actions might cause aggravation in a person. However, if you're feeling aggravated, if you're feeling dysregulated, or if you're feeling overwhelmed, it's not the other person's responsibility to regulate that. It's your responsibility to regulate your own nervous system. Now, again, I'm not discounting you might be agitated or activated by another person, but put them in a corner, walk in another room. When I say put them in the corner, I'm thinking like a child, you're getting a timeout. I'm just kidding in that regard. Go to another room, regulate your emotions if that needs to be the case. Again, without getting defensive, without getting overwhelmed, without, escalating the anxiety that might be happening in that moment between you and another person. So emotional regulation is very important, I believe, as a quality to look for in a romantic partner. And by the way, when I say look for it in a romantic partner, you have to be able to address, they have to be able to look at you. So you have to be a mirror, what I'm suggesting here, for yourself as well. Number three, self-awareness. Self-awareness. The recognizing the patterns, wounds, and blind spots and willing to own them. In my mind, self-awareness is the recognition of one's fears, insecurities, negative patterns, limiting beliefs, our judgments of others, how our actions affect another human being, and to be able to take ownership of our experience. To me, that's the definition of self-awareness. You might have your own definition. Webster might have a definition. That's the way I interpret it. And certainly when you get triggered, coming back to that emotional regulation, emotional availability, when you get triggered, it's your responsibility to manage your own emotions. That's encapsulated in the concept of self-awareness, to recognize one's patterns, one's individual patterns, not someone. Well, by the way, it's great that you can observe someone else's patterns. Hopefully they can internalize their own patterns as well. But again, self-awareness is looking in the mirror for yourself. See, here in the United States, we are suckling on the nipple of victim consciousness, particularly in romantic relationships. We're always pointing the finger at the other person without ever looking in the mirror. It's no wonder relationships are so chaotic, but it's so fascinating. If you put couples in a room, the man points the finger at the woman points the finger at the man. When you're pointing a finger, do you realize you have three fingers pointing back at you? Maybe you might want to look in the mirror. Number four, accountability. Accountability. They apologize without getting defensive and repair without needing to be chased or needing to be right. That's genuine accountability. That ability to not get defensive, to take ownership of your actions. It's fascinating. We human beings are so we human egos have a very hard time taking ownership and accountability. It always, at least here in the United States, I can only speak for the demographic that I witness here most often. But it's so easy to want to blame everyone else, particularly in romantic relationships. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Um, I know when I was single and I was actively dating, by the way, since my divorce 20 years ago, was in the dating marketplace in and out a number of times. And I was fascinated to witness women pointing the fingers at their husbands for the reason for divorce. It was very rare someone took accountability for their own part. And even if they took accountability for only 3%, of what may have happened, that certainly is taking accountability. And I'm not suggesting, hey, look, if you had to call a doctor, an attorney, or a policeman, in some instances where there is certain reason why it could be predominantly the other person's fault, but without looking inward, without taking accountability of our own part, that certainly can be potentially problematic. And I want you to pay attention, particularly to your own words. Are you blaming your previous partner? And to the person that you're meeting potentially for the first time, are they blaming their previous partner? Okay. We just talked about number 4. Number 5, integrity. Integrity. Their words, their values, their actions align consistently over time. Now, I say consistently over time. Look, we can all make mistakes. We can make a commitment to go somewhere and cancel at the last minute. That's just human to error. But it's consistent over time. Somebody who's consistent with their actions, their words, they're aligned with their values, and they're consistent about it, certainly, I believe, represents higher. God, I was about to say the word higher character, but certainly character. When someone is inconsistent, it makes it difficult to build trust with that person. And I suspect if you're like me, you want to feel trust in the relationship. Okay, number 6, a capacity for intimacy. A capacity for intimacy. They allow closeness without losing themselves or controlling you. See, this is the tricky part, particularly for women watching this, because men oftentimes come on strong and they appear to be intimate. In other words, they're expressing themselves, they're vulnerable, they're authentic, and they're transparent, but they're only vulnerable, authentic, and transparent because they have a desire to be physically intimate with you. So they're describing feelings of excitement, enthusiasm, excitement, enthusiasm, maybe even passion towards you. But are they really expressing how they feel about you? Are they really going deeper beyond the surface? Do they feel appreciated by you? Do they feel accepted by you? Do they give you attention? Attention, affection, appreciation, acceptance. To be able to articulate this in a way demonstrates a capacity. And can they share their fears and insecurities in a way that takes ownership on their part? That's certainly a big part of intimacy, to be able to share your limiting beliefs, your negative patterns. But Jonathan, this is for the men listening, but Jonathan, I'm told I shouldn't be vulnerable with a woman because that demonstrates weakness. There is nothing weak about sharing the realness of who you are. I have yet to meet a human being that doesn't have some fears, some insecurities, some doubts, some limiting beliefs, their judgments. And when we can take ownership of it from an empowered place, that is courage, that is strength, that is something sexy, that is something to admire, at least in my book anyway. Capacity for intimacy. Number 7. Secure attachment tendencies. Secure attachment tendencies. They do not disappear, chase, or test, or manufacture drama to feel connected. Oh, I've got to repeat that again. They do not disappear, chase, test, or manufacture drama to feel connected. I think we are swimming in a sea of victim consciousness, as I said before, and there's certainly men and women who create a ton of drama as a way to fuel the dopamine within one another to keep this relationship going. Let me ask you something. Have you ever experienced a man or woman who's addicted to the drama that oftentimes escalate things from a dramatic perspective? Oftentimes, if that's the case, they have an insecure attachment style and they struggle with actually feeling deep, heart centered love. In fact, I want to invite you all to read a book. It's called If the Buddha Dated. If the Buddha Dated. Now, this is a deep dive into differentiating the rhetoric between men and women, and it talks about connecting with someone at a heart-centered level. Now, it's not about attachment style like the book Attached by Amir Levine and Rachel Heller, or the book Wired for Love by Dr. Stan Tatkin, or the book Learning Love by Thais Gibson. Those are great books to have in your bookshelf. But certainly, if the Buddha Dated looks at it outside of the gender rhetoric and says, how can we genuinely connect at a heart-centered level? Now, number 8. Respect for boundaries. Can someone write this down? Respect for boundaries. They honor you without punishment, pressure, or persuasion. They honor you without punishment, pressure, or persuasion. I like the way Brene Brown talks about a boundary. A boundary is what's okay and what's not okay for me. So it's simply saying, hey, this is okay for me, this is not okay for me. And they respect it without trying to overwhelm you with that you're wrong with that boundary. That might be bordering on gaslighting if someone tells you a boundary is wrong. So certainly, as we're looking at these qualities, I hope you're writing this down. If you got to this point, rewind this, go and write these down, because I think having this in your repertoire will help you tremendously. And if you want a copy of this, hey, there's links below. Schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. I'd be more than happy to share this with you if you schedule a discovery call with me. And again, there's a link below to check that out. Okay, number 9, we're almost there. We're 2/3 of the way. Curiosity about you. Oh my God, this is one of the most important things is they are genuinely interested in your inner world and not just your body or validation. Someone write that down. Curiosity about you. Now, I can speak from personal experience. Remember, I talked about before. I can't tell you how many times I've been on a first date where I've been with a woman who doesn't ask me any questions about me. I might volunteer things just because I'm trying to keep the conversation going, but it's so radically disappointing when someone isn't curious about who you are, how you think, how you feel. They're not diving deeper. They're not asking, wow, you're a dating and relationship coach. What inspired you to do that? What wakes you up? What gets you excited about that? Going deeper than the surface. Here in the United States, you know what most people talk about? They text each other all day long. How's your day going? Did you have a good day? I hope you had a good day. Tell me about your day. Is your day going really good? Because all I want to hear about is your day. God, we have such superficial conversations about how you feel. What inspired you? What lights you up? This might be a few questions to start putting in your repertoire going forward. Number 10, relational skills. They can listen, communicate needs, navigate conflict, and collaborate. Write that down. Relational skills. They can listen, communicate needs, navigate conflict, and collaborate. Oh my God, what a big word, collaboration. It saddens me how people operate so much from what can I get instead of what can I give from a relational standpoint. And listening, communicating needs, navigating conflicts, and collaboration is so critically important for a healthy, happy, juicy, delicious relationship. I like to add the juicy, delicious because there's just something about that sounds so cool in my rhetoric. Number 11, growth-oriented. They are willing to evolve through reflection, feedback, therapy, and learning. Let me repeat that. They are willing to evolve through reflection, feedback, therapy, and learning. Ladies and men, if you are in a relationship with someone that they're unwilling to see a counselor together to improve your relationship, then what are they hiding? What are they afraid of? Most likely they're afraid to grow beyond the surface. Yes, we are swimming in a pool that is very shallow, but if you want that healthy, happy relationship, I think it would behoove you to choose someone who's growth oriented. Number 12, you share core values, not hobbies, not ethics, lifestyle priorities, money values, family vision, and spirituality. I mentioned money. Is someone financially responsible? Are you economically aligned with one another? That might be something worth getting to know before the penis ever goes inside the vagina. Lifestyle priorities. What's important? Is it health? Is it your family? Is it your fantasy football game? What is important to you? And certainly spirituality. I think to have a connection with the divine, a connection to your higher self, builds for a stronger relationship between two people. All right, that was 12. We're down to our last 3. Emotional generosity. Do they offer warmth, presence, reassurance, and effort without keeping score? Oh my God, we have to repeat that. Do they offer warmth, presence, reassurance, and effort without keeping score? I think people that have emotional generosity, they look at relationships from a place of what can I give instead of what can I get? They come from a place of how can I serve my partner? That's certainly emotional generosity. How can I serve my partner the best I can? Number 14, bump, 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 bump. We're going to talk about sex, sexual compatibility with emotional safety. Desire exists. Sex is connected, respectful, and emotionally attuned. Let me tell you something. Sex is part of the decision-making process in a romantic relationship. I know many couples that once they've had poor physical intimacy, it tends to end the relationship quickly, although some people stay in relationships even though they're not sexually satisfied. But I think sex is an important decision-making process when we consider long-term commitment. I'm not a big proponent of waiting too long to have sex, but I certainly believe that you should have a lot of these data points covered before you open your heart and your body to another person. And most importantly, before you're physically intimate, do you feel safe with this person? I don't mean just STD safe. Does your heart feel safe with this person? Can you trust this person? That might be a box you want to check off. And last but not least, number 15, consistency over time. Who they are after months matches who they were in the very beginning. Consistency over time. You may want to check some of these boxes before you're ever physically intimate with someone, or maybe even before you kiss them, or maybe even before date them. And if you need some support with that, hey, my whole area of expertise is teaching discernment. I have one of the aspects of my coaching program is called Radical Honesty, Pre-Qualifying Your Prospect. It's putting together the questions based on your personality to determine if this person is aligned with you, if this person is trustworthy, if this person meets your compatibility. And if you need some support with that, hey, check out the links below to a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. Did this conversation resonate with you? I'll repeat those 15 things one more time really quickly. Emotional availability, write that down. Emotional regulation, self-awareness, accountability, integrity, capacity for intimacy, secure attachment tendencies, respect for boundaries, curiosity about you, relational skills, growth-oriented, shared core values, emotional generosity, sexual compatibility with emotional safety, and finally, consistency over time. Those are the 15 qualities I suggest you look at before you ever consider going on a date, or at least have it in your consciousness before you kiss, and certainly before you're physically intimate. Is this sinking in? Is this resonating with you? Please let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Hey, post a comment below. I do my best to read them all in the first 24 hours. As always, if you find value in my videos, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel. Hit that notification bell so you can be notified of new videos. And if you want to connect with me directly, hey, there's links below. Schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. There's a link to join my group called Midlife Love Mastery. There's links to follow me on social media. Follow my Facebook page. It's blowing up. You get a lot of content there. And if you want, get my dating vows. It's all listed in the show notes below. All right, those who know my live format, it's time for Q&A. If you have a question, there's a little chat box in the corner. Write the word question, then post the question thereafter. Or you can purchase a super sticker, super chat. All of the monies from the super sticker, super chat goes to a scholarship fund in the name of my son, Connor Aslay. That's a picture of him right there in the Obey shirt. He's my son who passed away over 7 years ago. In his honor, we donate to causes like the Hoffman Process, Insight Institute, and scholarships to coaching as well. And our goal tonight is $50, so we'd appreciate some love. Thank you so much. And if anyone wants to join the Love Seat live right now, I just post a link right here. You can join me live and on camera, and we can have a little chat. Angela just wants to go. Great counseling as always. Thank you so much. Angela says, very good list. She also reminds us safety and trust. Eleanor says, your best point you mentioned is that men flatter and say, I love you straight away, which feels insincere. I also believe that. If it's too quick, it's probably insincere. Most think that they have it all, yet actions are immature, all about them, break rules. I think that's true for men and women alike. I do agree that there is a propensity to be disingenuous. Okay. All right. If you have a question, write the word question, post the question thereafter. All right. Come on, we're going to have a short live stream if you don't jump on quickly and ask a question. Angela, Angel, anyone jump in. I'd love to have a conversation with you. Hit that Love Seat link. So I'll start sharing personal things while we're waiting for questions. Many of you know in my last broadcast, I shared that I am moving in with my beloved. We've been together now 7 months. By the time we live together, it'll be 8 months in. We found a place to move in together. We had a lot of conversation about this. And part of it is we live almost about 17, 20 miles apart. 17 as the crow flies, 20 miles with going through various streets. And it just got problematic, not just from the back and forth, not that that was an issue, but we looked at our combined expenses and we're like, wow, we could save almost $30,000, $40,000 a year by living together. That's substantial. And I think part of it is also because we do see a long-term future together and we'd like to be together regularly. Could that, are we going to go through a learning curve living together? Yeah, but I feel as though this time moving in is a lot more conscious for me versus the last time. Now, I can only speak for myself, but we had conversations about money. We had conversations about mutual space. We've met each other's family, and we've talked about a long-term future together. We kind of envision our lives until one of ours last breaths. So we've had that conversation. And so if anyone wants to talk about the conversation of moving in with someone, I certainly will be more than happy to share any particulars if you have any questions of me. As I'm waiting for questions, I noticed that Angela just pointed a question, or Angeli. How many months before commitment? Okay, great question. Well, I think that's an individual question. You can commit to one another shortly after meeting. It doesn't require months to be together. I'm a big proponent of dating one person at a time. That's just the way I like it. I also believe in being exclusive and monogamous when there's physical intimacy together. So the minute two people are physically intimate and sexually together, and they're only want to see one person at a time, I think effectively you're making an agreement to be monogamous and exclusive with one another, which is a form of commitment. Now, when we're looking at deeper levels of commitment, hey, are we going to be in it for the long haul? That might take 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. I certainly wouldn't want to be with someone much past 9 months if there isn't a game plan of a long-term commitment with one another. But the first level of commitment, I believe, is monogamy, the meaning not having sex with anyone else. And the next level of commitment also include at the same time is exclusivity, meaning I'm not going to actively seek and meet other people while we're in the engagement of getting to know one another. So those are the first couple layers of commitment, the way I view commitment. Okay. Thanks for that question. I appreciate it. Crystal says, this is all resonating with me. Yes, resonating totally. Okay, great. By the way, Angela is in the house. She says, some women think they have to be able to totally heal and complete to have a relationship. What do you think of that? Well, I don't believe we ever fully heal. So from that standpoint, I think it's impossible to fully heal. I think we fully heal probably 7 seconds before our deathbed. But certainly if someone is actively working on themselves, they're actively doing exercises to heal, they're seeing a counselor, they're meditating, they're self-reflecting, they're journaling, that sort of thing. If you are in a process of a self-examined life, you can have a relationship whenever you want. When you take personal responsibility for your choices, you have a level of self-awareness, meaning you know your fears, your insecurities, your negative patterns, your limiting beliefs, your judgment on others, and you can articulate that to another human being. That certainly warrants, if you have a self-examined life, then I think you're ready for a relationship. I also think relationship readiness is a function of the following: your desire, your capacity, and your vision for a relationship capacity exceeds your fear. Okay, so fears, insecurities, past hurts, and fantasies. Many human beings operate on so much fantasy that exceeds their capacity. Fantasy is a made-up version of what a relationship is. I think women swim in fantasy a lot. Well, that's, I mean, equally as much as men, but I think women swim in fantasy a lot. So to answer your question, when your desire, capacity, and vision exceed your fears, past hurts, and your fantasy. Okay, great question. Dawn is in the house. Why are you not willing to ask her to marry you before you move in together? Great question. So we've talked about marriage, and we believe marriage is a contract with the government, the marriage certificate, and we're not interested in a contract with the government, first and foremost. Now, we've talked about having a spiritual marriage. We've talked about that. She's in no rush. I'm in no rush. I mean, I think pretty much we'll get married at some point, but neither one of us in a rush for that. So and again, we don't have an issue about cohabitation. I know a lot of people have an issue about cohabitation. I know so many people that could care less about the judgment and the morality about. We don't have an issue around the morality and judgment around cohabitation. We have committed to one another, and look at, you can get married and still get divorced. I know it makes it much harder, but I genuinely believe that we are fully committed to one another. That's my expression. You know, I mean, you can feel differently about that, Dawn. I know a lot of people can, but anyway. Rachel says, I don't think anyone is totally healed, but you learn to complete yourself. I agree. Angela's back in the house. Do you think that men and women should live together before marriage like you and your beloved? I think people should do whatever feels right for them. I think some people, I think some people are a lot of couples are adopting a living together apart, meaning they're in a fully committed relationship, but they have two separate homes. I know couples have been that way for 20 years. I know Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell are not married, but they live together. You know, that one is to each its own. I'm just sharing what's right for me, but you have to decide what's right for you, Angela. What is right for you, and then stick to what's right for you. Okay. Rachel's back in the house. No harm in that. You will certainly get to know each other in the ins and outs to speak. I agree. You know what? Hey, listen, we could live together and can't stand each other in a year. Okay. Then the relationship went as far as it could. We could live together and be, deliriously happy with one another. I think we've been through a medical issue already. We've been through some emotional issues already. We keep holding hands. No relationship is guaranteed, but I'd like to think the way we communicate with one another shows that we're sincere to one another. And there are no guarantees whatsoever. Angela says, thank you. We are exclusive, and you didn't answer my title of commitment questions. Thank you. We are exclusive, and you did answer my title of commitment questions. Oh, okay, that's great. GMC is in the house. What do you got here for me? Why does a man pull away after he shares vulnerable story about himself? I'm happy for you guys taking the next step in your relationship. Wish you both the best. God bless. Okay. I think when a person is vulnerable, it can be incredibly scary to have to some degree, vulnerability represents an inner space within ourselves that feels like a secret. And I believe it's very common for someone to pull away after they've shared something that might represent weakness in them. It might represent some shame for them. So that's the why. Now, my follow-up question for you is, how do you support this person emotionally in your relationship? And I'd love to hear about that from you as well. But that's the why a man would do that. Why a woman would, by the way, a woman would do the same thing. It's a very human experience. This is why I'm such a big proponent of couples having a counselor in their lives to help them navigate some of these different relational nuances that makes it challenging for us to commit to one another and to share our vulnerabilities in a safe space with someone that can help us navigate some of the nuances of that. Okay. By the way, if anyone wants to join the Love Seat, I just post a link again. Okay, Sarah's in the house. Hi, John. So glad you have a beautiful girlfriend. I saw the picture the other day pop up. Well, I'll share with everybody. This is a picture of my beloved. This is one of my favorite pictures of the two of us. Here, I'll take this down. This is a picture of the two of us. I think she's an absolute sweetheart. She's super cute on the, she's high on the super cute scale. She has the most adorable haircut. By the way, she has the most adorable haircut. She cuts her own hair. It's kind of funny. She does this. She cuts her hair like just like I call her Shags because her hair looks shaggy to me. But thank you for that. I appreciate it. All right, let's keep going here. Let's see. Sarah says pulling away can be refreshing. No need for speed. I don't know how it can be refreshing, but that's kind of an interesting way of looking at it, that pulling away can be refreshing. Interesting. Okay. Angela wants to know, how do you manage money in your relationship? Are you in charge of your finances? Well, certainly I am a sovereign being. She's a sovereign being. The way we've handled it, I'll just kind of give you a quick rundown how our relationship started. So the first time we went out, we went to breakfast at a restaurant at the marina. I treated the first time we were together. The second time we got together, we went to a really fancy dinner. Actually, we got together. The third time we had drinks at her place, but the third time we got together, I took her to a fancy dinner, a couple $100 I treated. The next time we went out, she treated to a really high-end sushi place. And we pretty much take turns. I treat, we tend to just kind of automatically take turns with one another. In our moving in together dynamic, we are splitting the rent. I'm taking care of paying the rent, and she supports that. I mean, she contributes her part. She's taking care of the utilities and that sort of thing. I'm going to support that. We've talked about creating a joint checking account. So that way we put money in the account jointly. We are probably equally yoked financially. She has a little bit more assets than I do. I have a little bit more cash flow than she does. So we're kind of equally yoked, and we're kind of looking at it from we both contribute from a partnership perspective, putting an equal amount to the relationship. It's not because we both agree that we're pooling our resources together, no different than, say, a married couple pools their resources together. That's how we're navigating that. Okay. Oh, Annika's in the house. We haven't seen you in a while. Big hugs. Really quickly, question: could a man be emotionally mature if he has not had a long-term relationship? His longest relationship was a few months. Well, what represents emotional maturity? The capacity to express oneself in a way that can be seen, heard, and understood. The capacity to regulate your nervous system. That represents emotional maturity. I think emotional maturity represents self-awareness, a self-examined life. They know their fears, their insecurities, their negative patterns, their limiting beliefs, their judgments, how their actions affect other people. They take responsibility when they get triggered. They took ownership of their past relationships. I don't think time makes a difference in that, or how many relationships they've had from a time perspective. Now, could there be a pattern of short-lived relationships? That could be indication of someone who doesn't want a serious commitment. That could be, okay? But that's not a guarantee that's what it is. So your question, I think, isn't so much about emotional maturity, but more about what is his intentions. What is his intentions? That's what I'd want to know. Let me read what Eleanor says. Sarah, being overwhelmed is one of the reasons why you pull away, possibly. Let's see. GMC. That's unfortunate because vulnerability is powerful, empowering. There's no shame in that. I'm grateful he shared this with me. I held space for him, and we actually had an amazing. Well, that's great to hear. Okay, that's great to hear. Let me go back to your original question. But his why he pulled away, I'm just giving you some context as to why he might pull away in that case. Angela wants to point out emotional maturity isn't the same of having experience in relationship. Now, that's a great point that Angela brings up. So relationship skills, that might be someone who, by the way, I know people who've been married 20 years. They have zero relationship skills. I know people that have had short-lived experience. They have great relational skills. Relational skills. Now, a person who's had multiple relationships and be able to witness relationships over a couple different dynamics should most likely be able to improve their relationship skills, most likely. But again, you could have you could have people that are 20, 30 years married and completely inept in relationships. So I don't think time has anything to do with it. Okay, Annika, but great question. Thanks for bringing that up. By the way, if anyone wants to join the Love Seat live, I just post a link as we're waiting for questions to pop up. We've had some really good ones tonight. I really appreciate it. Angela says exactly. Annika says, thanks. That was very helpful. Hey, if you found value in what I've been sharing so far, there's a little link below, a little $ in the chat box. Hit that $ and donate to the Connor Asley Scholarship Fund. I'd really appreciate your support. All right, we're going to give it another minute to see if anyone jumps in and asks questions. Otherwise, we're wrapping up just a little bit early than our hour-long videos that we have. All right, going once. If you have a question, going twice. I'll give it to 5. Oh, Annika just gave us a $5 super sticker. Thank you for the love. We appreciate you, Annika. All right, going 3 times. If you have a question, write the word question and post the question thereafter. All right, looks like it'll be a great place to wrap up tonight. Hey, folks, Did you find value in this conversation? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Post a comment below. I do my best to read them all in the first 24 hours. As always, if you do find value in my videos, hey, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel. Hit that notification bell as well. And if you want to connect with me directly, hey, there's links below. Schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. There's links to join my group called Midlife Love Mastery. There's links to join me on social media. There's links to get my dating vows. And don't forget the books I recommend. Oh, don't forget my book, What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? A Journey of Personal Development, Self-Help, and Spiritual Work. All right. Hey, Angela wants to say all your videos are valuable. Sarah says, take care. Everyone, I want to thank you so much for the love. Wishing you all. Oh, and I'm going to wrap up this video as I always do. First, I've given myself a big, gigantic Jonathan Barrick of self-love. I'm going to reach into the camera and give you a hug of love if that's okay. I'm going to ask you to turn to someone, a pet, teddy bear, a pillow, and give it or them a hug of love, because hugs are a great source of love. And let's face it, we could all use more love in our lives. Thanks a bunch. Bye-bye now. Thanks, Angela. Thanks, Annika. Thanks, everyone who commented. Big hugs to you. Wishing you all a beautiful evening.